Good morning, good afternoon, and evening, baseball fans. Welcome back to the Barstool Baseball Power Ranking panel. It is Carl. I am joined by Klemmer and Castellani. It is week 14. Hubs is traveling back from Aruba. Safe travels to Hubs as we get through this. This is a loaded fucking week here, guys. Week 14, halfway through the MLB season, almost dead on balls. Little vibe check as we get going. I'm looking again. I feel like every time we cut a show, Klemmer, you show up dressed to impress. The collared shirt. It's becoming a thing. I respect you so much for it.
You got to dress professionally. It's a professional show, Carl. When you bring me on your show, I'm gonna bring the professionalism.
I think it's those hot new gambling picks, man. He's got a little bit more pep in his step following, hitting on those prop bets. He can afford the collared shirt now. So,
Klemmer, you're red hot.
Yeah, it's crazy. 6 in a row. I mean, who knows? By the time people hear this, my hot streak might have ended. But yeah, 6 in a row going into today. Che's been helping me a ton. Just kind of like setting up the system as far as like, all right, one pick a day. He's been super supportive, and the prop bets are super fun to look for. I spend like a couple hours every morning making my pick. It's fun. It's like putting a puzzle together.
Yeah. How many units are you up?
I think almost 7.
Wow.
In 14 days. It's pretty good.
Yeah, boy. Not to be that guy, but I'm up 26 on the season, so fucking come knock.
Well, I mean, I've only been doing this for 2 weeks, so.
Attaboy. Yeah. Attaboy.
But no, you've been rolling too with.
No, who cares? Who cares about me?
People listening who want good picks.
That's a good point because I am fucking red hot, baby. I am red hot. Bombs away. It's 5-1 on the week. Diamondbacks won 3-1 last night. Did not hit a home run. If they did, I'd be at 29.7 units. So I don't want to make a huge deal out of it because actually I do. I mean, I'm so hot. Jesus Christ. We got another one coming today. It's Sunday. These things are going to be out every day probably until NFL gets going. And even then probably still through because we're just rolling. I thought I was going to get assassinated last night because I walked into a Barstool event for this NASCAR thing and I see Jack McCarthy there, who's the Barstool liaison for Penn National, and he puts these props together. I thought he was there to take me out. Have you seen Breaking Bad with the rifleman or maybe, like a North Korean agent, just like something quick to the neck, boom, Carl, done.
Blow dart.
Not the case. I'm here.
No, yeah. No, the bomb's waving.
But I thought that's how hot I am. I thought I was going to get assassinated. That's the point. I thought I was going to get assassinated. That's how hot
I think I'm glad you guys are doing well because I'm fucking tanking right now. I'm on this journey of self-discovery just to figure out how to be a better gambler. Like I'm blogging it daily now just to kind of get to a point where I might be respectable or average. I might need your guys' help at some point because yesterday I was over 3. But we're gonna keep rolling with it.
0-for-3. That'll happen. My best advice is take underdogs and consistently fade yourself. Like if you're surprised by something like, oh, I can't believe they're this and that, that's probably because you're going to win. All right, we're doing it a top 9 here. We each get 3 picks. I feel like the batting order should go Klemmer 1, me 2, Castellani 3. Okay. Is there any objection?
No, sir.
Any comments before we begin?
I'm very interested to see if somebody is willing to pull the string on a new number 1. That's all I'm saying. We'll find out.
And you know what? I'll say it. Klemmer, you really fucking did a number last week with the Cubs at 7.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I know people are they're probably not going to make the list this week, but I don't think all is lost for them. They're still only 5 games out of a very weak division, and I still feel they have the best pitcher in the division and probably the best starting staff in the division. So I'm actually going to kind of hold the line there and say that I still think they could win the Central, and they probably should win the Central.
Many people thought that was my executive decision.
Yeah, I went on like 3 different shows last week and said it's on me. So anyone who still thinks it's your decision isn't paying attention.
They spent, I'm not even shitting you, going back-to-back days, about a full 2 hours on that pick alone, on Pick Central, just going back and forth about how angry they were. And you explained it. You put it out there. So look, it wasn't fucking Carl's pick. I made the pick.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe we'll have another one like that this week. I don't know if it'll be the Cubs. I think all of these teams are above 500, but we'll see.
I don't know if there's anybody at this company that's educated enough on baseball to argue about it with us. So if people want to bitch, knock your fucking socks off. All of them, knock your socks off. Come on in here and tell me why. Because Klemmer, if Klemmer's going to make an educated pick about the Cubs, I do think it's bad optics. Your pick may be right. This is the balance of this job. Is like it is right, but people are fucking stupid. Most of the people on the internet, most people are not intelligent. So
not people. I mean,
it's hard to get
people who listen to this.
It's hard to get into the ration. Correct. The people listening, baseball fans, people that pay attention aren't. I'm saying that like Instagram. People on Instagram are fucking idiots. Like people on Twitter, generally speaking, the people that are going to see and interact with that are just going to be like, "What the?"
And they're also going to take it out of context too, without an explanation. Like even last week when we did the show, by the time that Klemmer was done explaining the pick, I'm like, well, I don't know if I'd have them at 7, but your logic is pretty tight regarding like where you think they're going to be by the end of next week, the week after, the deadline, what have you. So I couldn't get super mad at it, but what do people pay attention to? They pay attention to the graphic. They see Cubs at 7, universal freak out.
And that's fine. That's what we do. I'll be honest, every pick I make, I don't really give a fuck about the optics. Like I do it because it's the pick that I think is right. Now, I'll also understand if I make a pick or something that's kind of crazy, I have to explain myself. That's part of the job too. I love debating baseball. That's like my favorite thing to do. Like, believe me, if that's what I'm doing all day, I'm happy doing it. That's fine.
For sure.
Optics are important from brand protection and management standpoint.
I can only be me, so I don't care. I'm always on it.
I know that's. However, no, that's not true. That's not true. You've hit the group chat about tweets and stuff and being like, what are we doing?
Oh yeah. I don't like when once again, always being true.
Yes, you got that's brand
what
protection.
What do I always get mad
about?
I always get mad if there's anything that's a lie on that feed. If anything is a mistruth or something, or like that, I'm always about being honest, like about this stuff. Like that's the only way I think to succeed. So I'm always going to be honest, but I'll also understand you have to explain yourself. And the Cubs pick, I will say to the haters, you won last week. They looked like shit last week, so good on you guys. Point.
Hey, you also thought the Pirates were, you really gave the Padres a hard time about going to the Pirates, and maybe we should talk about that on Wednesday, but we'll get into that Wednesday. Pittsburgh's tough to play. Remember that, guys. Pittsburgh's tough to play.
They're easy to play, but not for the Padres. But they're terrible. They've been awful since May 1st. They're a terrible team. They're a bad baseball team. They're easy to play.
I'll fall somewhere in between and say they are a bad team, but they're just good enough to not be a pushover. Like they're not. If you can look at them on the schedule, you still probably need to bring like your B+ game to sweep a series against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm just just.
We're not going to turn them. We're not going to flip them. One of these days, man. One of these days.
They're 19-34 since May 1st. Is that right?
Right, but by their standards, that's not that bad.
What's that?
By their standards, that's not that bad.
Yeah. By anyway, 19-34 is horrible. So that's a bad baseball team. They stink. And if you go there, you should beat them. But the Padres are a mess too.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a lousy, just like the Mets, just lousy playing like a corpse baseball team. So
lousy's a great word for the baseball field. It almost plays so well here that I don't know if it plays better in other sports. Lousy. He's a fucking lousy kicker. Lousy kickers.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to the power rankings, guys. We got 1 through 9 here. Carl, Klemmer. It's going to go Klemmer, me, Carl, then Castellani, 3.
Okay.
These power rankings are sponsored by nobody, so let it rip, fellas. Klemmer, you're up.
All right, yeah. So new number 1, guys. We're going with the Braves.
Yeah, boy.
Thank you.
It has to be. And the Braves even have a better record, but beyond that, obviously, it's just they're playing so well right now. They're just absolutely on fire. One of the things I went to the Mets game yesterday. Meek Phil was there, and we were just looking at their lineup. Right. And just like look at every single player they have has an OPS plus of over 100, except for Michael Harris, who's at 96. But even their 3 bench guys, they're Pilar, Hillard, and Darno all have OPS pluses of over 100. Like everyone they have is above league average hitting, and that's not even counting someone like Acuna, who's on pace for one of the greatest seasons we've seen in this century. So you just have this lineup of there's no easy outs. I feel like we're looking at a lineup of like the 2003 Red Sox or some of the great offenses. Now, obviously, the pitching staff's an issue. You have Elder, Strider, and Morton, and then it kind of falls apart after that until they get some of these guys back. Soraka doesn't really impress me yet. Colby Allard, I know he pitched well for his one start, but his career is one of the worst pitchers in this century. If you want to go the other direction. But I do believe in the Braves. I do believe they could just beat the shit out of anyone they play offensively, and that sometimes can be enough.
Yeah, they're not.
It's a great pick. It's a great pick.
I'm with you, dude, because if it was just as simple as record, I could understand someone thinking the Rays still belong at the number 1 spot. But the Braves aren't beating teams right now. They're fucking dismantling teams. I mean, well, you and I, and you were kind of one of the first ones to point this out, but you and I are both very high on Yuri Perez. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's been the ace of that staff, really, since he got called up. They instilled the fear of God in that kid yesterday. I mean, they just
annihilated him.
They jumped all over his ass from the very first pitch. And yeah, look, Acuna is this is one of the great offensive seasons we've seen in a long time. I mean, he's the fact, and I think it'll slow down a little bit. He's on pace for a 40-70 season, right? I mean, just absurd numbers. And like you have Matt Olson, who quietly is on pace for 50 home runs. And you brought up Michael Harris. Here's how good this lineup is, because you're right. Michael Harris has an OPS plus of 96. Michael Harris, since June 7th, is batting .410 with an OPS over 1100. Like, that's your number 9 hitter who won Rookie of the Year last year. And he's
I mean, he had a very slow start. So what was it? 60 OPS plus, 55 OPS plus. I mean, when you say he's the number 9, I mean, that's just where he hits in the lineup. Michael Harris is talented. He's a
it's not a slam. It's a compliment.
It's speaking to how good they are, because most other lineups, he's batting leadoff right now. Or you're putting him in the 2 spot. The fact that you can bury this guy in the 9 spot in the lineup, they don't let you breathe if you're an opposing pitcher. And I think at some point deeper down the road, the potential issues with the pitching staff become legitimate. But we're in the summer months right now. The ball is flying, and they're winning games by scoring 12, 13, like 14 runs in a game. The pitching staff, like, it'll stabilize itself with you putting up that kind of offensive production. It's a fun team to watch right now. I think you have to put them number 1.
They've won 15 of their last 16, I believe.
It's unbelievable. They were 20-4 in June.
And it all kind of stems back to Michael Harris. Not to keep talking about him, but like when he started hitting, then it was like there's no weaknesses, and then they just became this like monster. And like you said, they're not just beating teams. Like look what they did against Colorado. I know it's Colorado, but like they're just like you said. Look what they did to Yuri Perez. He pitched a third of inning yesterday and gave up like 6 runs. This is a guy that had 20 scoreless inning streak, and he comes in there, and the Braves just literally just ripped the kid apart. It was like watching the end of the Hitcher. It was awful. That's an 85 reference from people. That's way back, but that's what it was like. It was horror. It was a horror movie. The Braves are terrifying. When you put in the list together, like who's number 1, I don't want my team to play the Rays. The Rays are really competent. They're going to beat you. I don't want my team to play the Braves because I don't want to get embarrassed.
That's a good way to put it. The Rays. Go ahead. Go.
No, go.
Well, no, I was saying the Rays have that tendency to scrap and claw and win that 4-2 game. When you play Atlanta, games are over in the second inning right now. I mean, they are just jumping on guys. They're a hungry bunch.
What's the division lead right now, Klemmer?
Division lead for the Braves? Oh, I honestly, I wrote it down. So I do the standings in my book every day. I usually write games back, but I haven't been writing it because I'm so depressed. I know the Braves have won 2/3 of their games, but I intentionally avoided writing games back. So I'm guessing it might be 9.
I think it's 8.5. I mean, it's done. I mean, they're running away with this division, but yeah, I think it's 8.
It's 8 on the Marlins. It's 8 on the Marlins. It's 11 on the Phillies. I do want to bite my tongue. I want to celebrate their greatness in this moment, but I'm hesitant to talk about how great they are this season and what they'll accomplish, because as we just see time and again, like, being great right now on July 1st doesn't necessarily mean at the end of the year you're going to be at the top of the standings. You're going to, like, there's bad shit
Oh,
could
yeah,
happen.
for sure.
Well, I mean, they're going to be
That
top of the
doesn't, it
standings. I mean,
doesn't, sure, it doesn't, they're 15 of their last 16 right now. I want to celebrate how great they are right now, but I think it's stupid to take the 15 of the last 16, then all of a sudden in my head, no, they're not. I'm not putting them in the World Series right now. I'm not doing that with
no,
anybody. I just want to enjoy how good they are. They are very good. Michael Harris has been good. And you've heard from inside that clubhouse over the years since Michael Harris has been called up, what is the difference maker? Like, what really, what fucking kicks you guys into gear? Dansby Swanson's talked about Michael Harris. Matt Olson's talked about Michael Harris. Brian Snickers talked about, like, all independently, profoundly about what that guy's capable of doing. 15 to 16. What was his numbers again?
I was
400.
Oh yeah, he was batting 410. I got it right here. 410 since June 7th. Only drawn 2 walks in 83 plate appearances, which is crazy. But an OPS over 1100 right now. BABIP of 403. I mean, he's been raking.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how you got to hit your way out of a slump. You can't take your way out of a slump. So if he's, in the OPS and all that shit so poor, I think it's like a mental, physical gear. Gunnar Henderson did something similar. He had a high OBP, but like a 200, batting average. And then you saw the walks plummet and the slug go through the roof. And I think that's an important thing for a young guy to feel, because, you get to the big leagues, all you hear in development these days is like, get your pitch to hit, get your pitch to hit. Player development so far away from, fucking scorch that thing. Launch that thing. And so it's interesting to see that with Michael Harris right now.
Carl, I wanted to. You had a point of like, all right, we don't want to crown these guys yet. 15 to 16 in June, great. But I will say this about them: I do want to crown them a couple of things. They're going to win 100 games,
Yes,
and they're going to win the division. And that's all you can control right now.
Yeah.
Like,
can you say that?
Yeah, I'll say it right now. The Braves are going to win the National League East. The Braves are going to win the National League East. Yes, I will say it. Yes, there's no question about that.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
And that's all you can control. Like, you're right, Carl. I mean, Billy Beane said it best. Like, right, like the playoffs are a crapshoot. Like, especially with the extra rounds and stuff, it's really hard. But so I'm not going to put them in the World Series either. But I will say they'll have the easiest road there, right? The clearest path there. I think. The Dodgers. There's some good teams in the National League for sure, but the Braves are pretty fucking good, man.
I got the Marlins to win it, like, around, looks like they're like 35-1 to win it. So, yeah, that's a pretty fucking big lock.
Yeah. I mean, there's, you never know. I mean, they only have 3 starting pitchers right now, so I guess maybe that could collapse on them. I'm trying to find ways where it doesn't work, but I don't find many. Because even like Jared Schuster, the guy they just sent down, like, his ERA is like 5. So he's like a little below average major league pitcher. You could slot him in.
Sure.
If he goes 6 innings for you and the Braves offense can do what it does, you still won't lose that game.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I'm up second. I'm going to take the Rays. They're still very good. And the thing I would call out with the Rays here is they lost the first game of a series on the road to the Diamondbacks this week. Now, they're 6-6 over their last 12, but specifically this week, they had Monday off, they played Tuesday, and they lost the first game of a series against the Diamondbacks. And me, as a Diamondbacks enthusiast, I've been very high on the Diamondbacks this entire season, was super interested because, if the Diamondbacks can come take a series from the Rays, now we can really have a lot of fun on Sunday with these power rankings. Nah, the Rays come back, they take the series 2 out of 3. They've proceeded to then, I believe they've won the next 2, or they've dropped 1 of 1, or I don't want to get too caught up in the ensuing games. I just want to talk about that moment specifically, because my head was on, if they drop that series of the Diamondbacks, we can come in here and have some fun with it. And that's a great moment for a great baseball team, because I like to measure things in series, whether it's 3 or the last 10. And it's fucking easy to lose your momentum in this game. And that's a great measure of like a great team. And that's kind of how I see the Rays. And just for this past week, the one thing I'd just like to call out again, if they lose that series, I think it's easy to be like, ooh, they've dropped 5 of their last 7. No, they're starting to, nope. No, That club travels, and they've got very, very, very few weaknesses in the long run. So even if they do get down to as far as 4 or 5, the command they have over the AL East and how impressive that they've been, it would take something crazy to knock them out of the 1 spot. It took the Atlanta Braves.
Exactly.
So.
And you're right about them being 6-6 over their last 12, but I think the Braves being number 1 on this list, it's not necessarily an indictment on anything the Rays have or haven't done. I think the Braves having this historic month where they're just beating the absolute piss out of teams is the reason why they're number 1. But when you look at everything the Rays have done this season, everything checks out. They check off all the boxes, and every time they have a series like what you just brought up against Arizona, where you're like, okay, are we finally going to see some cracks in the armor? They scratch a claw, find a way to win. They scored 15 unanswered runs against Seattle in Seattle the other night. They kind of keep doing the damn thing. I still think we're making the right decision putting Atlanta number 1, but there is still a very close gap there between 1 and 2. The Rays have at worst been the second best team in baseball all year. At best, they've been number 1 almost every week we've done this.
They had a chance to lose a series against the Royals, too. They split it. I hate that. I hate that I'm bringing that up positively, but I do follow and subscribe to the belief it is Major League Baseball. So they did have a chance where it's like, fuck, man, the Rays, they dropped 3 or 4 to Kansas City. They got swept by Arizona. No. And so today's another interesting one because as we record this, they play the Mariners later, and they lost the second game of that series. So, if I'm a betting man, and I am a betting man, I like the Rays minus 1.5 here. I will say weakness, and maybe they improve it at the trade deadline. This is something we've kicked around before. They could use like a veteran former superstar, somebody that like if they got plugged into that environment would really take advantage. Is there a name that comes to mind for anybody?
Can I throw
here?
out one? I don't think it'll happen.
Please,
Andrew McCutchen. There's been rumors. There's been rumors about some teams potentially being interested in him. Kutch is like top 5 energy guy, clubhouse guy that you're going to get. Like lots of experience, played in the postseason. I know that there's a lot of offensive depth there, but I don't know of any team that's going to turn down an opportunity to add Andrew McCutchen to their ball club. Is he putting up all-star numbies? No, but he's been the last 5-6 years. He's a guy you still don't want to face in a lineup. I think that'd be pretty darn interesting. I'd like to see Kutch get a ring somewhere or make it to the World Series in some capacity.
All right. See, I'd rather the Rays go after a starting pitcher.
Same.
I worry about that rotation. So one thing I wanted to mention is, I don't know if you guys looked at the schedule for next week, but the next week ends wild. We have Rays Braves series before we head into the All-Star break.
Ooh.
So that could be a fun one for sure. A great way to kind of right into that All-Star break that weekend. Rays Braves. What more could you ask for as a baseball fan?
Yeah, that'll be. I feel like that'll be kind of the knockout round. Winner of the series is number 1 going into the All-Star break. I feel like it's only fair.
I wonder how much priority that gets in the MLB scheduling process. I need to know as much as I can about the MLB scheduling process. It's such a mystery to me, but that when you see and hear it and you say it like that, Klemmer, I just want to say thank you, Rob Manfred, or whoever's in charge of that, saying like, the thinking is right. The thinking is that they're going to be 2 very good teams at the end. Then that's what they want. This is on purpose, correct?
I don't know. I don't know if anything, if it's just a great coincidence or not. I mean, could anyone? I mean, the Rays are always decent. The Braves are good. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. I mean, I hope so. Whatever the planning is, it's worked. I'm trying to see right now. I don't think there's an ESPN game, right? Because it's that like they want to give teams like the full All-Star break, right? They don't have anyone play that night. So I'm looking here. They play at 1:40, so it's not going to be an ESPN game on that Sunday. I don't know what the other games look like, but yeah, I don't know. Should be an interesting series.
Yeah.
We might need to tape the show next week after that series is done, so we can get a real lay of the land.
Ooh, a juicy end of the first half, true end of the first half. No action is coming. If a power ranking end of the first half,
I think that has to happen.
Okay. I'll talk to our producers and the showrunners and make sure that we get that approved. Number 3.
I think there's a gap between 2 and 3, but I think we'll all agree here. After 3, there's a substantial difference between 3 and 4. I think that these top 3 teams have established themselves really all year, really from day one. Number 3 is the Texas Rangers. Now, as of the time of this recording, they have split the first 2 games at home against the Houston Astros. They have a game today. Framber Valdez will not be pitching for Houston. But look, Texas has found a way to get it done all year. The offense has been lethal. I will say, having watched them just play a 4-game set at home against my Tigers, they've looked, I would say the screws haven't been quite as tight. Offense hasn't been as hot. Some of the pitching hasn't been as great, but every time, similar to the Rays, where every time I feel like maybe some things might go sideways, maybe some things might start to flare up, they get a great pitching performance. And man, I don't know if there has been an offseason signing, at least as far as pitchers go, who has been as valuable as Nathan Eovaldi has been. He has just been fan-fucking-tastic for them all year, and had a great performance yesterday against Houston, shutting them down. It's an elite lineup. I think that the deeper it goes, and it alludes to something I just talked about a second ago, I do think we're starting to see the not weakness, but the minor flaw that is their rotation starting to shine through. Evaldi's been great, but Gray has not been as good recently. Can you trust Andrew Heaney? I think that they've already added one bullpen piece. They went out and got Aroldis Chapman, which was about as predictable a pickup as you're going to get. I mean, I think everyone right away said Chapman to the Rangers. Yeah, all right, Chapman to the Rangers. I think that they need to bolster that depth in the rotation. But right now, they're in that sweet spot in the summer months there in Texas where that offense can just slug and slug and slug. 4-game lead, I believe, right now on Houston. So it's not as there's not a whole lot of separation there, at least not as much as people might think, considering how good the Rangers have been this season. But they're a confident bunch. It's been that way all year. And similar to the Braves, in fact, I think they've actually scored more runs than the Braves this season, which is sounds surprising the way that Atlanta's gone. Similar to the Braves, no matter what, that offense for any pitcher is going to be a nightmare to navigate your way through come October. So it's hard not to even consider putting them in the top 5 right now. I got them comfortably in the 3 spot.
Yeah, no argument here. The Rangers are, like you said, are the 3rd best team in baseball. Their lineup is exceptional. I mentioned how the Braves have all guys who have OPS pluses of 100 or more. You can make the same thing for the Rangers. They kind of flip and flop guys a bit more, at least with Duran, and you got Grossman is not an ideal DH. I don't think he's particularly great.
No, he's a platoon DH mainly. Yeah,
but the pitching staff's pretty solid. I mean, you got the 5 guys. I know you mentioned Gray's kind of taking a step back to some extent. Heaney too, I guess, a little bit. But I mean, you still have 5 guys in that rotation who have ERAs under 4.5, and then you have an ace like Eovaldi. I mean, Eovaldi has 10 wins. Like nowadays, to have he's on pace for a 20-win season. Like how often do we see that in modern baseball? So, Eovaldi's a legitimate ace. And he has, if you're one of those people that really measure past playoff success, he has that. I mean, think about what he did with the Red Sox. So, he's a guy I think you can count on, and that Rangers lineup is deep enough. Now, the question is, can they hold back the Astros? I was very confident, like the Braves are going to win the East, and I believe that. But I'm not as confident the Rangers are going to win the West necessarily just because the Astros are so fucking good.
I'm with you on that. Well, I've made the comparison in the past to last year's NL East race, where it just seems like for a heavy majority of the season, the team that isn't the defending champion is playing like the defending champion. These teams are going to play each other again. The deeper the season goes along, you're going to experience that grind of the major league season. The one advantage that the Rangers do have is, despite the fact they haven't made the playoffs since 2016, there is a lot of veterans on that roster who know what it's like to go through the 162, who know what it's like to grind through the playoffs. I think that could prevent them at some point from having any sort of slide. But yeah, Houston's not going anywhere for sure.
2 great managers down the stretch.
Sure.
One great manager.
I trust Bochy. Bochy more than Baker, but I defend Dusty more than most people.
Hey man, Dusty Baker's the right guy for the Houston Astros. Klemmer, debate me.
I'm not going to. They just won a World Series, so I'm not going to debate you. He's probably he's the right guy, I guess. I don't know. Dusty Baker, I just not a guy. I think he's a very overrated manager, but he did just win a World Series, so I'll bite my tongue on that.
Is he the best player currently managing?
Ooh.
You mean
is he the best former player?
You mean that he had the best playing career when he was a a player, or just best former player manager?
Yeah, I mean, he had the best. He was the best player.
Okay.
Like, I don't mean like would he be a good player
I
He
know,
right
was
I
now,
know.
better
or
than
like how?
he had a very good career. He was not a Hall of Famer, but he was a very good career.
Yeah,
He was substantially better than like Aaron Boone's career, for instance, who was a nice player himself.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah, Craig Counsell was a nice player.
yes, yeah, Skip Schumacher
Fine.
was a nice player.
Skip Schumacher was a fine
Yeah.
player. Yes.
Right, but like Dusty Baker was, miles beyond them.
yeah, I think.
Dusty Baker was an
Yeah.
all-star.
Oh yeah. He might be. Right. I'm just kind of go. Oh, Bud Black was a decent player, but Dusty Baker was way better. I think so. Right.
Yeah, I think you're
I mean,
right.
Francona wasn't very good. He was okay before he hurt his knees. It's got to be him, right? By
Yeah.
a mile.
Francona hit 274 in a platoon rollover. I believe it's 7.
No, I know, but
only 16 home
look
runs.
at how he did
Only
before he hurt his
16.
knee with the Expos, though. He was batting like 350. He was an amazing contact hitter, and then his knees went.
Is that's an AstroTurf?
Yeah,
thing,
I think
isn't it?
I don't think it helped. I mean,
because-
the knees probably would have. I mean, it was so early in his career; they would have gone eventually anyway. But they went so fast, you have to wonder if. I mean, look at poor Andre Dawson, right? Andre Dawson would, when he was with the Red Sox, at the end of his career, he'd have to have 4 ice packs, 2 on each knee after every game, and he was a DH. That's how fucked up.
That's why he signed. That's why he signed with the Cubs, because his doctor said Wrigley Field would be great for his arthritis, his knees, and all that shit. So he took a discount so he could go stand in the outfield at Wrigley, and he said it did wonders for him. Now, this is also a pioneering time in medicine, so I don't want to draw too many conclusions, but Wrigley Field can bring the best out of you. They're not going to be on the power ranking list this week, though.
No.
They're not. That's a fun little dig into history here. We have the Rangers here confidently at 3. We were just talking about managers. That was just a comment that I had made. I do let Bruce Bochy. That would be an interesting difference maker for me down the stretch and over the last second half of the season, is the way Bruce Bochy can manage the team in the long run to compete in the division. I think it's great that we're going to have a division race in the AL
100%.
West. I think it'd be interesting if we can get a little something out of the AL East, even if the Marlins or the Phillies want to get hot for a 2-week stretch. If the Braves lose a pitcher, that's a fucking stretch and a half. We're probably going to get something in the NL Central, probably a very lukewarm race in the AL Central, probably a race in the NL West. And we're not far removed from when there's just no race. It's the Dodgers won the West, the Cubs won the Central, the Braves win the East. And that was pretty repetitive around like 15, 16, 17 anyways. So.
Number 4?
Yeah.
Oh, number 4.
Going to go with the D-backs.
Yep.
You don't like that, Carl?
I think this is about as even as someone else in the West has been with the Diamondbacks in a month. So, but I like it. I'm interested. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, they've been very good all year. They've been the consistent, this first half of the season, they've been there. Merrill Kelly, he's hurt, right? But I don't know how long he's hurt for. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a terribly long time. If he's out for if it goes well beyond the All-Star break, if that's what we're talking about, then I'm concerned. And then, the other thing too is the Dodgers are red hot right now. Is that kind of what you're alluding to, Carl? Like how the Dodgers are just playing some great baseball? Yeah, and that's fair. I have them right there with them. So that's and there's if Merrill Kelly is going to miss time, real time, then there's a good chance that the Dodgers overtake them soon. But for right now, this very moment, I have to go with D-backs just because they are in first place. They've been in first place all year. It's a tough call. If you had said Dodgers, if you had the 4 pick and said Dodgers, I wouldn't fight you too much. This is a very lukewarm recommendation from me, and I'm a little nervous that we're starting to see, because I like the Diamondbacks. I kind of want them to do well. It's fun. They're a fun team to watch, but I'm kind of nervous. This is the first time where I'm in about a month where I'm ooh.
Yeah, they strike me as a team that needs to get to the deadline. Get to a point where you can add a few pieces, because right now they're in it. We've talked about it from the beginning. Even though they've gotten some good starts out of Nelson, they got a good start out of Tommy Henry. Once you get past Merrill Kelly, there's not a whole lot of depth in that rotation besides that 1-2 punch. And the bigger issue to me, Corbin Carroll is not on the IL, but he's day-to-day with this shoulder issue. That could potentially become a lingering big deal. And this team, I mean, we saw what they were before Corbin Carroll arrived. I mean, they're going to need him in the lineup every day down the stretch. And they have done a good job of fending off a hot Dodgers team. They've won, I believe, the first two of the series in Los Angeles against the Angels. So they're doing more than just treading water, but they're another one of those teams. The deeper this goes, I think the more flaws kind of get exposed. But right now, look, you ask any Diamondbacks fan, it's July 2nd. You're 3 games up in first place. Every single one of them is taking that. So I think based on what we've seen up to this point, you have to at least put them top 5.
For sure. And I think they have a 4-game advantage on the Dodgers. And maybe it's not 4. I know they have 4 more wins.
I think it's 3. I think they have a 3-game lead in the division.
Okay.
Yeah, but 4 more wins, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I mean, that can go. Look, that can go away in a week. So, but I for right now, I did look at it pretty closely, and I was like, "Ooh, this is the first time in a while where I'm like, those Dodgers are starting to get good." The Diamondbacks play my Mets this week, and then they play the Pirates. So I think the Diamondbacks might be able to be okay until the All-Star break. As far as holding on to that National League West,
I think it's really interesting that the Diamondbacks are 26-14 on the road, which is a 105 win pace on the road for how many younger players that they have and inexperience they have in the lineup. They're 24-20 at home, which is around an 88 win pace at home. If you look at the Dodgers are the complete opposite. They're 26-15 at home. They've got a great home field advantage. All the more reason why I'd like to see the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers somehow meet in playoffs, or at least let's just take it down the stretch to each other. Because what's interesting to me is just how, for how many times we've said the name Corbin Carroll on the show, we've probably said Mookie Betts' name one for every 15 or 20 times we talk about Corbin Carroll.
Yeah.
Now, the Diamondbacks, I love the point about going into the break. Get them into the break. Just get them to the break, because these guys do need to get rested. They need a chance to just level set, add some talent at the deadline. But it sucks that Corbin Carroll is going to go get paraded around Seattle and then boom,
I
right
know.
back.
I was thinking the same thing. See, Merrill Kelly, his issue is, I guess, it's right calf inflammation, and they post it. I mean, it could be a thing where they just wanted to give him a breather, but that breather can also extend to the All-Star break, and he comes out and he's fresh, ready to go. But right, Corbin Carroll is not going to have that same advantage if he's having to go all the way to Seattle. You're right, do the whole thing, which is a lot. It's not. I know
it's his hometown. Welcome home. Welcome home.
You guys aren't working in a coal mine, but it's still a lot. It was supposed to be your 4-day break, and you're spending a lot of that. Right. Saying hi to all your friends and family, all that stuff, and then also all the events. There's also post-game events, pre-game events. There's stuff to do with sponsors. There's a lot of these guys are pulled in a million different directions during this break.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy as just showing up to the game and just kind of goofing around a home run derby. There's a lot of other commitments, and like I said, it's not like they're fighting fires. It's not like that, but it's just a lot of having to be somewhere at a certain time. It's not very relaxing. And with a kid like Corbin Carroll, you'd love him to have just 4 days to just not have to worry about anything, and he's not going to get it.
Would you mind if I just make a real quick point about Corbin Carroll? And this is going to get weird here. He's from Lakeside High School in Seattle, Washington. There's only been 2 guys in Lakeside High School in Seattle, Washington to make it to the big leagues. John Leovich, which is 1941 to 1941. Okay. He had 2 plate appearances. And then Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll's young enough where he's probably still tight with all those dudes and all the kids. And it's not a culture where yeah, okay, of course. He didn't go to Mater Dei High School. He's not from Plant City, Florida, where yeah, everybody goes to the big leagues. I would imagine the entire essence of his hometown is that's our fucking guy. Yeah. And he's only a couple years removed from that. And it's not a place so I'm saying this All-Star break could be, you're in your buddy's basement, mom's making fucking sandwiches, you still got to go do T-Mobile appearances like you're talking about, but that pull from being at home playing beer pong with the boys, dude, Corbin, come on, Yeah, that could be exhausting. It would be terrible if he slipped on something in the garage, an oil spill or something while he was
Yeah.
chain
Oh
smoking
God, Carl,
heaters
what are
with
you
his
doing?
buddies.
Boo, Carl! No, what are you
Don't
doing?
speak it into
Don't put that
existence.
energy into the world.
That's a terrible. He's already got the banged up knee. I was talking about the already existing knee. I wasn't speaking something into existence that doesn't already exist. Was
No,
I?
now I'm scared of oil slicks in him. Now, what are you doing to me?
And all we were talking about was just a little all-star break and the guy being from Seattle. Well, the Diamondbacks deserve to be 4, though, like you said. A 50-win team. I know the run differential is a little thin, but they do have the lead in first place.
Yeah.
Should we get to number 5?
Let's do it.
I'm going to take the.
No, it's Castellani.
My pick, right? Yeah, because you just had 1 and 4.
Oh,
Oh wait, no, who is shit? You wait, so fucking A.
No, it's Carl.
Yeah.
Carl, you are second. I'm sorry.
Goddamn, my bad.
Yeah, I took the Rays. I took the Rays too. Although I did hijack a pick from Castellani last week. So you have a hijack button if you want to hijack this pick. I'll go ahead, pull it, shoot, pal. No, do it. Stuff it down my
All
face
right, good,
right
because
now.
I think it's going to get controversial here for a second, because I think that maybe I'm jumping the gun. Maybe I'm 1 week early with this pick, but I trust this team more than the 2 teams that I think a lot of people are going to put ahead of them. Los Angeles Dodgers. They had a phenomenal week. It was okay, because I think the sexier, trendier pick, just based on the storylines, would be to go with the Orioles or the Marlins. But when I look at these 3 teams, even outside of record, looking at run differential, and I do pay attention to pedigree, I just think the Dodgers are more poised, regardless of what they do at the deadline, to have a hot second half and really maintain it than some of these other younger teams are. I really like the Marlins, but at the end of the day right now, even with the success they've had, they still have a negative run differential. I really like the Orioles, but right now, for the time being, rotation kind of sucks. I mean, and they've just gotten popped by the Twins back-to-back days. Now Sonny Gray's going for Minnesota today. They could end up getting swept. We'll see what happens. The Dodgers have their flaws, but they're starting to get some pitchers back, and they have in the heart of that lineup a 1-2-3 punch that I'm not fucking with any day of the week. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and JD Martinez, all of whom are healthy right now. Mookie's just having another phenomenal year. Mookie Betts, for whatever reason, for a guy who makes the All-Star team every year and won an MVP with one of the best offensive seasons ever, is still kind of underrated. I don't get we don't talk about him. I feel maybe we do, but a lot of people don't talk about him as one of on that Mount Rushmore of best players of this generation. He absolutely is. Freddie Freeman's going to be in Cooperstown, and you have a guy in JD Martinez who, while by no means a Hall of Famer, has had about an 8-9 year stretch where he's been one of the most feared hitters in baseball. Those guys are evergreen guys. They're not going away. And I have my questions about the long-term sustainability of the rotation. You're starting to get Urias back. Kershaw left to start against Colorado, said he was done after 6 innings. That's a little bit concerning. I get it. But I'm more inclined to believe that the Los Angeles Dodgers get hot and maintain this over the second half than some of these young teams that, while I'm definitely rooting for them, I need to see more out of before I can trust them the way that I trust the Dodgers going forward in the second half.
Yeah, here's my problem with the Dodgers. Like I said, Kershaw, I don't trust he's going to make 35 starts this year.
Right.
Urias pitched 3 innings, gave up 2 runs against the shabby Royals yesterday. That's not great. Gonsolin's very good, obviously. Bobby Miller is really showing some signs where he's not doing what he was. The last few starts haven't been great. Emmett Sheehan's been a nice little pickup there. It's 3 starts, but he's looked good in really all of them. So, but all in all, that rotation has some issues where I'm a little bit I just wish Dustin May hadn't gotten hurt, kind of thing. I wish they had a bit more, something a little bit more solid in that rotation. Maybe they can make a move before the deadline to go help that starting pitching out, because I think they need it. But the offense is fantastic. Like you mentioned, Mookie Betts the other day had he had another leadoff home run and then followed it up his next at bat with another home run. And and it's Mookie Betts. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Mookie Betts is legit. He's right there if you look at his stats, he's probably a better player than Bryce Harper. And I say that with Bryce Harper's awesome. That's an incredible comment. But that's how good I think Mookie Betts is. Yeah. Obviously, Trout, is in a different level beyond that. But those guys are, Machado too. Those guys are all going to be in Cooperstown one day. And, they're still only 30 years old. So how awesome is that? The Dodgers, that's a fine pick here. I'm fine with that.
Okay, good. Yeah. Thought maybe it was a little premature.
I like it a lot. I like it a
I
lot.
do have one bone to pick with Castellani. You mentioned you like pedigree. What do you mean by that exactly?
Okay, because I know you guys talked about this on Pick
Yeah.
Central this week quite a bit, and we're gonna have a divide here. I am more willing to give teams a longer leash when they have proven year in and year out with their particular cores that they can make it to the playoffs, make deep runs in the playoffs, or both. Like a team like the Baltimore Orioles, I'm not there with trusting them yet. Now, if they make it to the postseason, make a deep run, all of a sudden that does carry over into next year. But a team like the Astros, who we may talk about a little bit later on this list, I'm willing to give a team like that a longer leash and say, hey, you know what? There might be some flaws on this team, but until proven otherwise, they're still Houston. Until proven otherwise, this team is still the Dodgers. They still are a team that has won 11 out of 12 divisions or whatever. It's a team that's won multiple National League pennants, and they have a core of guys. It's more so not the team as much as the players. They, with Mookie and Freddie Freeman and JD Martinez, every one of these guys, almost a heavy majority of these guys on this roster have played in a World Series. I do take that into account. Now, of course, there are those exceptions. Royals in 2014, none of these guys were experienced. They made it to the World Series. But when I go into a postseason series, or just into the postseason in general, I am more inclined to believe that a team that has a history of making deep postseason runs is one I'm more likely to trust than, say, some jumpstart young group like the Diamondbacks or the Orioles.
Yeah, see, that to me, that's a little bit of what I like to call stinking thinking. So here's why I agree and disagree.
Okay.
So 11 out of 12, I don't give a fuck, because whoever was on that team 11 years ago, other than Kershaw, it's a whole new team. Just because they have Dodgers on their jersey doesn't give them superpower. So
Right.
I don't care what they did 11 years ago as it translates to right now. Now, if you're saying the core, that's a different argument. Like the Astros have like Bregman and Altuve, and you know why those guys win every year? Because they're fucking awesome. So yeah, I'm not going to bet against talent. I'm not going to bet against a very good player, because chances are they're still going to be very good. But I'm not going to give a fuck what they did 8 years ago, the same team, because it's an entirely different team. So I guess I agree with you to some extent, but in other ways I disagree inherently.
It's an entirely different team, but they have many of the same players that have either made it to the World Series, won a World Series, or have made deep runs in the postseason. Like if the Dodgers and Marlins finish with actually, let's say the Marlins finish with a better record than the Dodgers, and they line up in October and have to play each other for whatever reason, I'm going to pick the Dodgers. And part of that is because I know that one team has experienced October, or these group of players has experienced October many times over, as opposed to a Marlins team where you do worry, are the lights going to get a little bit too bright? Now, sometimes you have a team that just gets in right away and gets hot. I remember you used the Phillies from last year as a prime example, hadn't made the playoffs in 11 years, but at the same time, Harper, Schwarber, a lot of guys in that core had made deep runs in October in the past, or made it to October in the past. So it's not so much the jersey, the uniform, as much as the players in the clubhouse. I'm more inclined to trust the core of the Dodgers than I am the core of the Diamondbacks, Orioles, what have you. Subject to change, of course, but right now for these rankings, it's a big reason why I got them 5.
One comment about spotlights getting too bright is the complete opposite thing too. Like a lot of people did not know Ranger Suarez balled the fuck out until he was in the spotlight. There's a lot of guys that crave that spotlight and then can get to another gear. And we don't know that until they're in that spotlight and they get that moment. So I don't think spotlights are too bright to shy people away. Sometimes it brings out the person who wants to go stand on the stage and be a superstar. The other thing I want to talk about the Dodgers is player related quickly. I really want to give credit to, thank you for bringing up, Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts are two of their best at their position in their generation. It's special to see them play together, because really this idea that anybody, you could really plug in so many options around these guys. Yeah, whatever, they lose a shortstop, but go down the list of all the adjustments you'd have to make. Filling out a modern lineup, though, when you're going to have Mookie at the top and you're going to have Freddie Freeman hitting the middle, I think that's should become a foundational way of thinking about roster construction, of getting two amazing pillars and then kind of having stuff that you can plug and play around it. Obviously, you'd want 3, but there's so much flexibility with the Dodgers, and I think it's having those 2 cornerstone players that allows them to have dynamic lineups and bring different people in and mix and match different lineups that allow them to find successful players. The last thing I want to bring up is a guy named Emmett Sheehan. who pitched at Boston College and then got drafted in the 6th round. He made 18 starts for Boston College. Boston College is a place where a scout can stop for a second. It is so easy to go watch a game at Boston College. And he pitched in those Northeastern community or summer leagues, not in the Cape Cod, but there's so many scouts in that area that can just pop by and see a guy. He goes in the 6th round of the Dodgers. I don't know what the Dodgers scouting presence is in the Northeast, but you're telling me that like all of the fucking teams in the East Coast did not take this guy in the first 5 rounds. The Dodgers got him in 2021. He got up to Double-A in 2022. He was in Double-A this year, made 10 starts in Double-A, gave up 20 hits in like 55 innings or something. So we talk about, oh, Michael Grove, Bobby Miller. Here comes Emmett Sheehan making 3 quality starts for the Dodgers. I think they won. The team's 2-1 in his starts. They've won his last 2 starts, 17 innings pitched, 10 hits, 4 walks, whatever. Who gives a fuck? This guy's forgettable. He might be a number 5. They might trade him. He might have a great career with the Dodgers. Who gives a shit? It's just this fucking kid. There's so many of these kids in the Dodgers organization. It makes it so easy. Whether you're a Mets fan, Tigers fan, Cubs fan, personally, I would be begging to have this type of player development system. From a national perspective, it's easy to just sit back and admire. Holy fuck, man. Holy fuck.
He's looked great.
Yeah, he's been great.
I watched 2 of his games, and both of them he didn't show signs of being rattled. Seemed to have really good poise out there, and also was just not dominant stuff, but really effective.
I'm picking 6 here. Chris, you've seen him pitch? I'm sorry. It sounded like you were about to say you've enjoyed watching him pitch.
No. I was trying to make a lame transition into pick number 6. So you just take it. Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I don't give a shit. This is the right thing to do. That's
what people say right before they commit a crime.
I'm taking the Houston Astros.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I had them at 5, so it makes a lot of sense.
And they're struggling too. Like if you look at the lineup and the composites and stuff, Jordan Alvarez a little banged up. Bregman's carrying the team. He's got a great season defensively. He's 110 OPS plus. Framber Valdez is just an absolute gangster in that rotation.
Love him.
Oh God, he should just went like. When he comes out to the mound is like the scene from movies when they show like the big armies are facing and then the one army's coming up the hill and it's just absolutely gigantic and you as the viewer are like, oh fuck. That's how I would feel as a major league hitter seeing Framber Valdez for the first time. Gigantic, the hair's flowing, the sinker's coming in at 99 miles an hour. You could just hear the glove popping. And the amount of movement, you're talking like 18, 20 inches on fastballs. Just insane stuff. I like the Astros here. They're I think they're 4th or 5th, I should say. 3rd, 4th, or 5th. No, not top 3. But they're 4th or 5th in run differential on the season. And they did have a very slow start. We're not far away from coming back here and saying the Astros is a clear AL pennant challenger. Like right now they're in the mix, but they should continue to get better as the season goes on.
That's the point I think that should scare a lot of people is I know this team. I know Houston. I've watched a ton of Astros baseball over the last several years or so. And when we're talking about a sleeping giant, in my opinion, this is the first one that comes to mind. Altuve is healthy now and starting to see the ball really well. And when I look at those numbers, when I look at the OPSs, Tucker's going to be better. Bregman is going to be better. They're going to get Alvarez back, who, I mean, he makes everyone go in that lineup. I mean, he's a terrifying guy to go up against. And they're going to make some moves at the deadline, I think, potentially to bolster their rotation. They're going to get healthier. They are still Houston. And I know that they still have one more to play against the Rangers in this series. Whether they lose or not, they had a very rough stretch for a second where they did not look very good. And we are into early July. And if regardless of what happens today, they're either going to be 3 games back or 5 games back. That is very much within striking distance. We're already seeing the Angels fall off. So this is now once again back to being a 2-team race, which is what we all expected. And come late in the season, there's fewer teams that I'm going to trust or fewer players that I'm going to trust than this core. Every guy on this team at some point, I believe, has been in a pennant chase, made a deep run, or put up all-star numbers at some point. I know that Bregman's going to find that all-star stroke. Tucker, I'm not worried about. Tucker's great. I love Kyle Tucker. And Altuve is gonna do his thing. I have some concerns about the pitching, and as we alluded to a little bit earlier with Dusty Baker, I have some concerns about bullpen management. Rafael Montero has an ERA of like 8, and he's pitching him in high leverage situations all the fucking time. It's ridiculous. The bullpen last year was historically good. They had a 0.58 ERA in October, which is still sounds like a fake number. It has not been what it was last year. They can add some pieces at the deadline. The foundation is still there. The core is still there. I can't knock you putting the Astros at 6. Even with some of the struggles they've had, they're still Houston, man.
Yeah, no argument here. Houston has the best ERA in the American League.
Yeah.
I do worry about that offense a little bit. They got some work to do there. Especially if Alvarez is going to keep missing time. I know we keep saying these guys are going to come, Bregman's going to figure it out. And he slowly is, and he's like Carl said, he's very good defensively. But there are some guys in that lineup where I'm a little bit like, like Corey Julks and Jake Myers don't instill the fear in me. So they have some work to do offensively, but the pitching's been just so dominant this year. And I'm curious to see how they look after, because obviously they're going to be in the mix no matter what, right? You got to figure it just from the talent they have on that roster. Heading into July or heading into the end of July with that trade deadline, are they going to make a move to put them over the top? We saw them do it back, when they got Verlander. I know that was the waiver wire deadline, but we've seen them make that move to kind of level them up. Are they going to do that here?
Why don't they go get Verlander again?
Yeah, so they've, to me, are a team that moves at the deadline, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're super active. I don't think they have the prospect capital,
right?
The high end guys, but they should have the deep guys. They should have players that they've developed well enough in the minor leagues to convince the scouting director to give them.
Now Verlander, the reason they won't go get him though, he signed basically because of player options. He signed for 2 more years after this, at 40 million plus. Yeah, no. So the thing is, Scherzer is the other guy that you could go get. He's only on the books for a year and a half. And if the Mets are willing to pay, say, 90% of that salary, kind of like what they did with Eduardo Escobar, you get 2 top prospects from someone. You tell me the Mets are going to say no to that? Yeah. Right now, the Mets are, 9 games under 500? I think you got to look at that.
That's a fair point.
You were serious about Verlander.
Verlander's not going anywhere. Scherzer is the one to watch.
You're probably right.
But I'm, stunned.
I mean, they did the same thing with Eduardo Escobar, right? Like last week they traded him, but they paid the entire salary so they could get 2 AA guys back, whatever. But you wonder, why not do that with Scherzer?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think that is the one, it's a weird way to put it, the one advantage of the payroll and the contracts that Steve Cohen has signed, where it's not like the Padres, where the Padres are stuck with Bogarts, Darvish, and Manny Machado for the next decade. There's nothing you can do.
Right.
It was signing these guys to high AAV deals, but short-term deals allows you some flexibility if things go sideways, which they have. Where the only guy on that team with a huge contract that is unmovable right now is Lindor, and you're not going to get rid of Lindor because he's still putting up solid enough numbers. I know Marte had a solid contract as well. You're not going to get rid of him, but as far as
they still owe him $50 million, and he stinks right now.
He's been awful, man, and it sucks because I love Starling Marte. But even so, you have some flexibility there with what you can do with those pitchers. We'll see what they do, but man, for a guy who was a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer, Scherzer's been shipped around a lot the last several years. Where you go from the Nats?
Well, makes you think.
What's it make you? Steve Carlton.
I think that when guys aren't kept around, he got traded early in his career. He got traded again early in his career.
He's also the greatest free agent signing ever. Well, him, Greg Maddux, and Barry Bonds. I mean,
Randy Johnson, yeah. But
I put Randy in that boat too, right?
Yeah, it's true. That's true. I could say it's circumstances, but I think early in his career, Carl, a big thing was everyone thought his body would break down because they didn't think mechanically he would.
Do you think less of Steve Carlton, Eddie Murray, Jim Tomei? Those guys all bounced around the end of their career. I don't think any less of them.
No, I don't think less of Jim Tomei at all. He signed a massive deal with the Phillies and then got traded in 2006 after he'd been in the league for 15 years. I think it's different when you get moved around a lot early in your career, even though you've got – he turns into one of the best pitchers of all time. That doesn't surprise any of the player development people that are around him. So then why do they move him? I get surprised. I don't know why Trevor Bauer get moved a lot.
Oh,
And I'm
that's
not.
not. Yeah.
No, because people don't, teammate wise, it's just a clubhouse. Like, has Max Scherzer ever been rumored to be a guy that, like, whatever, we like him, but is he good? Lester's another perfect example. Like, people would say Lester's great for
Yeah.
a clubhouse until he's not. And then he's really bad for a clubhouse. Lackey's great for a clubhouse until he's not. So I don't know if Max Scherzer is that guy who's great for a clubhouse because he's a competitor and a bulldog and he's fucking awesome until he's not. So he's not
But
good
like
for a
even
clubhouse.
what we're talking about now, we're not trading him. I'm not talking about trading him because any clubhouse situation or even because of talent. If anything, he's been better than Verlander. I think he'd be easier to move for a lot of reasons. So Verlander looked great yesterday. But I think the thing with Scherzer is we can get value for him. That's the only reason I'm talking about trading him. It's nothing to do with him personally. So
it's a I had a bad reaction to a simple comment that was, Scherzer's been traded a lot in his career. And I said, well, makes you think. That's a throwaway. I shouldn't have done that. I
can defend my guy, Carl. I can defend him.
He, drafted by the Diamondbacks, traded.
Yeah.
Traded to Tiger.
I shouldn't do this.
That's the Diamondbacks for being morons. We should be going after them. Like, what are you doing?
That was a horrific trade.
Awful.
And you know what they didn't do then? Then they signed Ketel Marte and they said, we're done trading our superstars. You would think that the Max Scherzer trade comes back and nips at the owner's head and just says, what the fuck, man? What are you doing? What are you doing? Now we see Corbin Carroll get a big deal. They can't trade that. All right, good for Max Scherzer. He died for the Diamondbacks, so the Corbin Carrolls of the world can live. We have 3 more picks here, guys. We're running up against a time limit here. Not too hard, but Klemmer, you're up at 7.
I know we can be quick on this one. We talked about them a bunch, but I'm going to go with the Orioles here. Same problems still exist. We want to see that ace in the pitching rotation, things like that, but they've been very good all year, and they're probably the key wild card team right now in the American League, right? I don't see them catching the Rays, but you can't. I mean, the Orioles, if they didn't if you told me right now they're not going to make the playoffs, I would be shocked.
Yes. I think they've put themselves in good position. They're the one team, I've brought it up a million times, that scares me the most, where I think they're most likely to pussy out at the deadline. That's what, and pull this whole, well, we like what we have. Cheap owners always like to preach the whole we're 1 year away bullshit. Well, 1 year away, next year can be now if you make the right moves. So I'm really rooting for them. Great offense, even with the concerns in the rotation. They've done nothing, but they keep fucking winning games. I know they've struggled a bit against the Twins the last few games, but even so, they keep rolling. So we're on to 8 right now. So that would be
I'm taking back 8.
That's right, because I hijacked.
I'm taking back 8. Yeah. No, Orioles, the run differential is terrifying. They've lost 4 in a row, but they do win in bunches. They win in bunches, but now they're starting to lose in bunches. They drop 2 in a row, they win 3 in a row. They drop 2 in a row, they win 3 in a row.
One quick thing on that,
drop 4 in a row.
Right, their slugging percentage is down a lot the last 3 weeks. Yeah. They're slugging around 420 right before that, right? And now they're down to 390 if you really dial it in. So the power numbers, when the weather is getting warmer too, you expect it to go up. So that's a little concerning for me.
I wonder if there's some symptoms of a young team starting off so hot out of the gate and not understanding the marathon and not sprint element of this thing. I'll look, wonderful player. I'm gonna put 10% concern on Adley Rutschman's power. Sees the ball incredibly well, but that OPS is in the high 700s right now. And of course, the walk rate is always going to make you think he's gonna find it, and he will. He's a wonderful player and he's a plus defender at catcher, but Jonah Heim made the all-star team over him for a reason, because one guy's kind of mashing a little bit and the other guy just gets on base, which is, of course, for a catcher, a wonderful quality to have. But I think that whether it's this deadline or in the offseason, adding a 30 to 35 home run power bat will be really advantageous for them at some point.
I'm with you. I've been saying that about Adley just for a little bit. People were calling him so great. He gets on base a lot. The next step, though, if you the real differentiator is striking fear in the opposing pitcher, and he's a step removed from that.
Pretty awesome. I mean, he's got
dude. He is awesome. He's awesome. He's awesome. Why are you rolling your eyes like this, dude? Go look. He's slugging 419, dude. That's like Nico Horner.
No, I know. He's just a catcher. He's got 11 home runs. It's just. I know. He probably is over. I understand what you guys are saying. Hey, look, I think he's almost too, I don't say overrated, but he gets too much
The
credit.
hype is there,
Yeah.
and the hype is real because his skill set's robust. He's crazy. He's crazy good, crazy talented to be this young and lead the league in walks. Probably a top plate discipline guy, eye vision, all that shit. But he has the ability to be generationally considered the best catcher, to be considered one of the best players in baseball. In that next phase would be I smash mistakes. And right now he's still take mode and patient mode. And if you took him and you put him in a lineup with other great players, like if he was in the Dodgers lineup,
Terrifying.
he's probably scoring more runs. He's probably in more positions to drive those pitches. He's probably a little bit more valuable. I don't want to, dude. And now I sound like I'm shitting on Adley Rutschman. I think he does take that step. He's super young. He's super young. It's way harder to come in and take pitches and get on base, and then it's way harder to do what he's doing. Is what I'm saying.
Let me say this. I think we all can agree this. I wish Adley Rutschman would get 10% less credit, and then we give that credit to Austin Hayes.
Yeah, fair.
Because Austin Hayes is having a really good year. No one talks about it. Adley almost gets like too much attention because he is so good. But like, there's some other good guys on that team too. And like, you never hear Austin Hayes' name mentioned. That's all. So maybe let's just share the wealth a little bit.
Yeah, Santander. No, it's that is a good point, Klemmer. It's a very well-rounded offense. Like, I don't know if there's any superstar offensive players. I think Adley's the only one with superstar potential, but it's a bunch of really good scrappy hitters that keep moving. Yeah,
there's some good players on that team.
Yeah,
and that could be enough.
Aaron Hicks leads the team with an 861 OPS.
Damn good.
Hey, Austin Hayes is hitting 313. What a throwback. Thank you, Klemmer, for bringing him up.
Good point. Yeah.
Okay, we're picking at number 8.
Yes.
You can pick if you want it. You can take it. I have a pick for 9. I do not have a pick for 8. I have a confident pick for 9. I have a couple teams that I would throw in at 8, but there's a team that has to be 9.
Okay. Okay. So I'll take 8. I'm going with the Marlins. met with I actually heard cricket sounds there. Look, I think we're skewing our opinions a little bit because the last 2 days have been so ugly for them, and they've gotten the shit kicked out of them. But they've gotten the shit kicked out of them by the Braves. The Braves are pummeling teams right now. I think we can take the smallest of sample sizes and get a little bit concerned, but until these last 2 games, all they were doing was winning. They just went to Fenway and swept the Red Sox, pitched out of their minds. Their rotation, I know Yuri Perez had the worst day of his career yesterday, but he's only 20. He's been fantastic. Alcantara, I think, is going to be fine. He's going to find his changeup again. He's not going to end the year with a 4.84 ERA. Jesus Luzardo has been really good for them. They're probably going to add a pitcher at the deadline. I do think they're going to kind of go for it. And ultimately, they have 2 guys in the heart of that lineup in Arias and Soler that have been as good a 1-2 punch as any in baseball this year. There's a lot of things long-term that I think are legitimate concerns for the Marlins. They've won a ton of close games. You do feel like when you look at the run differential, water finds level a little bit. I get it. There's not a whole lot of experience there, especially in the rotation. We'll see if these guys break down a little bit. But I just, when I make these picks, I can't really focus on what the future is necessarily going to look like. I can only focus on the now. And this has been a team that for a heavy majority of this season has continued to impress. We keep waiting for the downturn. We keep waiting for the regression. And maybe it's coming. In fact, odds are when you look at the numbers, it most likely is, but it hasn't happened yet. So I can't put them down, off this list or even number 9 on this list based on what I think is going to happen. I can only base it on what's happened so far. And the Marlins just keep doing the damn thing.
Jazz Chisholm's playing better.
He's come off the aisle and played well.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, I can't argue it too much.
They're fine.
I don't have them on my top 9, but I can't argue it too much.
Okay.
So I have Yankees 8, and then I have the Reds 9. I had the Yankees 8, I had the Reds 9.
The Yankees I'm going to fight you on. I have the Giants.
Because hold on, dude. It's the Yankees took it serious in the Rangers. The Yankees they had a bad stretch, but they looked like they're okay. So we don't like the Yankees here. I think it's fair to at least talk about the Yankees in the context of this power rankings, though. I don't want to just blow them off.
I don't know, man. Without Aaron Judge, team is not. That team can't hit. They're so bad offensively. I have the Giants at 8 and the Phillies at 9.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
I like that the Reds lost 2 in a row to Atlanta, then got their fucking tits smoked by the Orioles, and then came back, won that Orioles series, and they're, have an opportunity to win a series against the Padres. So, because there was this sense of like, ooh, the Reds lost their magic, and they're like, no, actually, we're gonna beat the Orioles 2 in a row, and now we're gonna take a series from the Padres. But they lose the series to the Padres, the magic's kind of, now I sound like an idiot.
I guess so. The Giants. Here's my argument with the Giants. Giants have roughly the same record as the Dodgers, and I feel are a bit more of a complete team. Having said that, they've had some weird injuries. Conforto's a little banged up. They lost yesterday to the Mets. They didn't look particularly great. The Phillies, meanwhile, have been playing red hot baseball now for like a month and a half, or a month really, and I have a hard time leaving them off. I guess this gets tough. Yeah, the Yankees, I'm going to fight anyone on until they get Aaron Judge back. They
okay. So let's take my Yankees take, and
I'm okay with the Marlins at 8.
Get
I
out
guess
of
we
here.
got to figure out 9 here.
I'm fine with the Marlins at 8. There's compelling reasons.
Yeah,
Chris is talking about. There are some kinks in the army, but they get their doors smoked 23-4 by the Braves in the 2 games. Doesn't negate the fact that the last couple weeks they're awesome.
Yeah, I guess that creates. I mean, there's a real free for all at 9. You said you had the. I mean, whose pick is it officially? Is it mine?
No, it's Carl's.
No, it's technically mine, but this is what I like about where this show is going over the last couple of weeks is when we're kind of getting to the end. I don't just because I think something doesn't mean it should be represented officially. The Phillies have been good. I'm looking here now. The last 10.
Look at their last 25.
Is very compelling.
Like the last 25, they've been incredible. I know they were on.
I would like to reward a team that displaced the Cubs too from the Power Rankings. It's like the Cubs are red hot. Everybody loved them in the show last week. So
I'm more.
I really hope the Cubs in the division. I'm gonna have the biggest fuck you parade you guys have ever seen. Not you.
Dude. I'm not saying the Cubs aren't winning the division. This is where I get destroyed for everything here.
The division stinks. The Brewers can't hit lefties, and then the Reds don't have any pitching. It's like I don't know. I know they're 5 back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. It's fine. I'll wear it. It's fine. I didn't play well this week. It's fine. It was
only 1 week.
It's only 1 week, and I knew the schedule was tough. Maybe I should have saved it for another. I don't know. Whatever. It's fine. Who's going to win number 9?
I'm number 9, and I'm taking the Phillies here after scrolling through.
I like
so we've got the Phillies at 9, and this has been a great power ranking show. We have the Braves at 1, the Rays at 2. I'm going to need a little help off the top of my head. The Rangers at 3, the Diamondbacks at 4, the Dodgers at 5, the Astros at 6,
Orioles
7,
at 7, Marlins 8, Phillies 9. That's a good
solid.
9.
No one's going to get too mad at us. I mean, no one's.
I think that Giants fans will be the.
But it's solid. Start there. It's
Very
solid. It's a solid 9.
I think Giants fans will be the ones who will be most upset by this. But I mean, it's not. Again, it's business, man. Like other teams had really good weeks and got really hot. And so that's kind of where I stand on it. One team's got to be the odd man out. I think that. Especially given the way things went for them last year and the way that it kind of seems like it's going this year, it's hard to ignore the Phillies at this point. It's hard to ignore the fact that it seems like that core is getting healthier and starting to peak at the right time. I think they belong in this list.
This is the Barstool Baseball Power Ranking panel. Carl, Klemmer, Castellani. Hubs will be back next week. We're off next week. We're still figuring out programming notes. Follow Barstool Baseball on Twitter for the schedule. Enjoy the 4th of July, boys. There's a lot I want to talk about. I got to go to a NASCAR race. So as we get into the 4th of July week, there's nothing I can think of more American than going to support Denny Hamlin and just spreading that American cheer. I would like to share that cheer with the audience. I hope you guys have a great 4th. And we will be back. We'll be back this week with something. Just fucking stay tuned for that. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Until next time.